What's the word, y'all? Peace, Cosmic Family, man. Peace, Cosmic Family, man. How y'all doing? Your boy is here, man, at the desk and shit like that. And, I mean, the energy or the way things are flowing is kind of giving off that I should probably just, chill in the house, you know, use this time to be able to do something that's beneficial and productive, right? So I whipped out the notebook on some shit, you know, one of many of my notebooks. I whipped this out and I wanted to get started on my book and shit like that a little bit. But it's like I ain't necessarily know what to write about. I mean, for real, I think that what's been postponing me from actually writing is because I've been experiencing. And to actually write as if you have to experience. Like there was no difference between you and what you wrote. So it's like, I'm not just writing just to, just to write, you know. I'm not just writing to give you the right to be sentenced to my words in this book, right? I'm just kind of just trying to give a detailed story of how I perceive reality, because that's what books really are. You know, they detail stories about how X, Y, and Z author perceives their reality, right? So, I mean, like, what do a lot of people ask me about, when it comes to just, just having a conversation, like, because I know I'm like a natural therapist, I'm like a natural psychologist, a natural teacher, so I'm trying to figure, like, what some of the questions that I come across. Like, people always say something about, how to get, negative thoughts and shit like that out your head and whatever like that. So I guess I'll just do it like this. And I'm titled is Guide to Guide to Healing. Guide to Healing the Hood. Guide to Healing the Body in the Hood. Right, so when I start off with, vibrations and shit like that and telling people, oh, how to get these negative thoughts out your head. So, I mean, really, the Bible is like perfect, to be completely honest, because the Bible is like an esoteric playbook in a way. It's like you can't read the stories and shit like that in the Bible as just face value. There's actually meaning and like real underlying principles that give a deeper message, right? But how they explain it to us in the Bible, they explain it to us in a way to where we can. Did I just zoom in? In the Bible, it explains the spiritual and the mental and the emotional in a way that we can understand it, right? Right. So I mean, I don't know. Because it's like the Bible isn't all wrong, just like the Bible isn't all right. All truths are only half truths. So it's like, in a way, the Quran, the 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 Book of the Dead, right? or actually it's really referred to as the book coming forth by light or something like that. So, I mean, all these books, all these spiritual books were really just meant to teach us about a higher plane of existence while on a lower plane of existence. Because to overcome any dimension, right, you have to understand the dimension. Yesterday, before I was going to sleep, I was watching this video about the fourth dimension, and I was coming to the awakening that we are actually in the fourth dimension while watching this or hearing this audiobook, right? Because the first dimension is considered a point. Let me just write a point right there. First dimension is a point. The second dimension is a straight line coming from a point, right? Just like that line. That's the second dimension. Then the third dimension is a point going from one point to another, right? So it would be almost like completing a cycle in a way. Like you got like that, and then we're gonna go straight again because we're still operating on the second dimensional plane with that straight line, because in the second dimension they can only go back and forth, right? In the first dimension it's only a point, only a fixed position, right? So let's just assume that you went from one point, right, to this location, to that location, to that location, and then you went back to that point. That's a second dimensional object, contrary to what we was taught in school. This is second dimensional, right? And third dimensional would be basically the understanding of itself, right? Because we know that the first dimension is not conscious of the point, right? Just like the second dimension is not conscious of just move. It can only move straight, back and forth, straight. It can only move back and forth, right? And then when you create this box like this, it's the third dimension, or the third dimensional beings can only perceive, or third dimensional beings would only perceive just the box. They would not perceive what is inside the box. This is why we are not third dimensional, because we perceive that we have a spirit, a soul, a body, and whatever like that. So we know that that's something that is inside of this vessel, inside of this box, right? That's where you would technically have in like overlapping, which would really be the fourth dimension, right? Because you see now from a higher perspective what is inside of the box, right? So we know as beings with consciousness that we know that we have spirit, soul, so we are operating in a fourth dimension because we are aware of what's inside of the box. Just as if you see here, you can see that it's this right here, that gap. That's the inside of the box that third dimensional beings can perceive, or fourth dimensional beings can perceive. And then of course, still operating from the first dimension and second dimension, we go back and forth creating those lines from those points, and voila, you have a third dimensional object. See, we are fourth dimensional beings because we can perceive that there's something inside the box. So, I mean, hopefully this was helpful. I ain't really do shit today. This is pretty much what I do, teach myself and whatever like that. But shit, make sure y'all subscribe. And like, I don't tell people to subscribe. Like, I don't know, because if you resonate with what I'm saying, you are already subscribed. Just not physically. Maybe in the first dimension or second.